Hi folks, I'm Mike and I hope you're well. Welcome to episode 11 of my featured artist series where we are going to have a listen to some of your music, and myself and my wonderful guests are going to give our opinions and critique about some of the challenges perhaps that you faced while you were making that music, and hopefully everyone can learn from that as well. Big welcome to everybody who's already here in the live chat. Thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to take part in the show, meaning that as we're listening to the music, I love to hear your guys' opinions as well. Now, one thing you can do if you are in the live chat now to help me out is hit the like button on the video right away. You don't even know if you like it yet, but I'm just asking you to do that because apparently it tells the algorithm that other people should come and watch this as well. So just do that right away for me. That would be wonderful. I'm going to ask you guys in the live chat a question in a moment, which I want an answer to. But before we get into all of that, I'd just like to thank my sponsor up here, Distrokid. If you follow that link, which is in the description, you will get, I think, 7% off of the current price. I make a little something out of it, which doesn't cost you any extra. So that's a great way to help me out as well. So we will be talking about some of Distrokid's features. Now, just talking about the songs which we have in the show today, or how you get your song, there is a link in the description if you would like to enter your music, just so you can have more people hear it, and also to get a little bit critique from the expert guests that I have on the show. I've got a wonderful couple of guests today. In fact, they're so much better than the guests that I normally have on. Last week, don't tell them, but these are really the best two guests that I have on usually, the highest caliber of guests. They know their stuff, they know what they're talking about in the studio, and they're kind of nice guys. I wouldn't say they're great guys, but they're okay. They're nice guys, and we're going to have some fun, hopefully. I do have a question for them, but I'm going to ask you, it's a little bit of a topic as I'm doing a little bit of market research, as it were. So I'll ask you guys in the chat, and if you're watching on the replay as well, don't forget you can comment on this. I'd like to ask you, if you could only pick three plugins, to use in your productions, what would they be? What's the sort of favorite plugins that you've used which you find come up again and again in every single production? It doesn't have to be because they're amazing. Maybe they just do a great job out of the box, and they're easy to use, or maybe they've got great sonic qualities, or maybe it's something about the interface you like. It could be any reason, but I would love to hear from you which plugins have really stood the test of time from you. Talking about plugins, there is one person who virtually makes their living out of plugins as a YouTuber, and that is my first guest today, and his name is Marlon from White Noise Studio. Let's pull him up here. G'day, Marlon.
Me?
Here you go.
Is it me? It's me.
It's him, yes.
Hello.
Yes, we were just talking about this off air, weren't we? Because I was talking, we were having a chat, and I was saying to Marlon, the way I was talking, like when I was filming something, it was a little bit different to the way I talk in real life. Once you're a YouTuber, you have to talk like that, don't you, Marlon?
Yeah, awesome. Everything is great. Nice to see you all.
Yay! Let's do the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Yes, so for those of you who don't know, Marlon has this wonderful channel, White Noise Studio, and I have pigeonholed him a little bit in saying that he does a lot of videos about plugins. That's kind of, from my perspective, that's Marlon's speciality. Not his speciality in production, but in terms of his YouTube channel. Follow the link in the description for that channel. He does great high energy videos, which I really enjoy watching. So yeah, I'm going to come back to you, Marlon, in terms of your favourite plugins of all time.
Sure.
I'm going to be really interested, considering that that's what you focus on. But tell me, because I've been so busy the last couple of weeks building computers and things, as you may have noticed. I haven't really kept a close eye on your channel. So what's been going on with your last 2 or 3 videos? What have you been looking at?
I actually did two. Not the last video. Before that was actually a great plugin, a free plugin, which was a step sequencer for gates. So a gate step sequencer. which can do all sort of gating with a step sequencer. You can send it out as MIDI.
Oh,
Very creative plugin for basically every platform, even iOS. So
is
it's really
it a
sweet.
gate or an expander type of a thing, or is it just purely
it really
a gate?
is a gate. So it's volumes, it's on or off, and you can set volumes, and you can go up to 64 steps, I believe. It runs synced every time, but it's really creative. You can use it for creative things, but also for mixing, like transient controls. So if you have drums, right, you can just reduce. If you reduce the volume exactly on the beat, you will reduce the attacks of the snare, stuff like that. It's really nice and free.
Interesting.
It's actually better than most paid gate step sequences I saw, and it's free. Pretty amazing.
That sounds like great fun. I'll definitely have to check that one out. And anything else? Anything else that you've any other interesting videos?
I don't know. Are you pointing to a click track metronome thingy?
They're your videos, man. I'm just trying to help you out here.
I did a video this week. The second video I did on Lars Ulrich of Metallica, because
yes, that's right.
And I added a thumbnail with an arrow. Got some advice, which was really good. On that
Is he just? Oh, probably it's a bit of a spoiler. Well, let's just spoil it. Is he using a click track?
No, he's not using a click track. It's kind of funny because that band got sloppier and sloppier over the neck of the last 2.5 decades. I mean, really sloppy. It's like you're playing live, and you go like, "Oh, guys, you cannot do this live." But they didn't play a lot during the pandemic, and now they re-emerged and they sound way tighter all of a sudden. Like everyone's going, but they have practiced. They are now actually good. That started the rumor in the comments of a lot of their videos that Lars Ulrich, the drummer, is now using a click track live. I have used the click track a lot live during my playing, and I listened to that, and I did not recognize it as being played to a click track. So I made a video about it, used beat detection, just checking the tempos.
Yeah.
And it goes up at 5 BPM, it goes down. So it's absolutely not a click track.
Cool. Talking about sloppiness and talking about drummers, let's bring in our next guest. Did you know that was coming, Ed?
I did. I saw that. Well done. That was good.
Oh dear. He is Ed Thorne, ladies and gentlemen. The Ed Thorne, in fact, from the Ed Thorne YouTube channel. An absolute wonderful drummer, but no one cares about his drumming. Most people care about his audio interfaces, and he does a great job of reviewing them and looking into them. And also, we were just saying off air, Ed, you've got an interesting looking pair of headphones on your head there. Are they something coming up in a review soon?
These will be coming up in a review. These are the Austrian Audio Hi-X 15s, I think.
Ooh. Yeah.
They are I want to say budget. They are £85, which is about $100, and they sound better than my Sennheiser HD 300s, which are about 150, almost double the price, which is interesting. So I'm putting these through their paces. They also sent me the Bluetooth version that they do, and they sound even better, weirdly. So I don't know what that's about, but I haven't quite figured out how to get Bluetooth working with my DAW yet. Any advice?
No, it won't be any good because of the delay. But is the Bluetooth version, has it got the ability to plug a cable in?
I'd have to check. I can't remember. I don't think so.
The only reason I say that is because I've got some AKG headphones, and which I looked at a few months ago. And they're Bluetooth, but they've also got the ability to use the cable as well. And my premise there was that it may be a good idea to have headphones that you may use for your daily driving, like listening to your iPhone or what have you, listening to regular music.
With headphones on?
Not driving with headphones, no. That would be dangerous, and we don't do danger. And then perhaps because you get used to listening to music, commercial music on those all the time, then maybe that you're almost like naturally referencing all the time. It was a theory I had, which I never really tested out, to be honest with you, for any long period of time. But I think it's an interesting idea. Anyway, anything? What's coming up in your? You've been making a video today, haven't you?
I am working on a commissioned video for a major plugin company. I can't tell you what it is. It's coming out on Tuesday, I think. And it's a very good plugin, but the edit for this video has turned into an absolute monster.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's been complicated, but that's because I'm having to do it between two systems for a variety of reasons. But it's going to be good when it's out. Yeah, there'll be an announcement on my channel. The video won't be going on my page; it'll be going on the company's website.
Okay.
I mean, I assume so. That's what they're paying me for. So then I will be doing a kind of my own review of it with some slightly different examples and details. I think.
Interesting.
I'll give my honest opinions in that video.
Look, you're supposed to say that.
No. I mean, my opinions will line up with what's in the main. I mean, there's no opinions in the video. It's kind of a walkthrough.
Okay.
But I was thinking of putting a clickbaity title like "What I Really Think," but I think that sounds a bit derogatory to the brand. What I want to do, but because it is genuinely good. So yeah, that's what I've been working. Not loads on my channel has been going on, and also I'm really busy with live shows.
Talking about plugins, we've got some opinions here in the chat already about some plugins which people love. I'm just going to pull up one here, mainly because I like these. Voxengo Span, such a useful plugin. It's funny, isn't it? Because there are commercial versions. It's just a metering plugin at the end of the day. Not sure what makes it so useful, but I do use it quite a lot. TDR Nova, one of my favorite plugins, love Tokyo Dawn stuff. And Vital, which I think is the synthesizer, isn't it? Is that the free synthesizer? Am I right? Silent State? Vital is the free synthesizer, I believe, which I have messed around with a little bit. So there's some interesting answers there. Let's see what else we've got looking up here. Analog Obsession, La. Tower Reverb 2. Oh, yes. I looked at that recently. Yes, that is good. TDR Nova. Yeah, again. Just to keep it on the free. So there's a few free plugins coming up here. This is a recent one, GSAT Plus. I don't know if you've tried that out. Marlon, have you tried GSAT Plus? Nice. This has got some sort of association with, I'm going to call them Gear Sluts. I don't care they change their name. They're called Gear Sluts, okay? And everyone just knows them as Gear Sluts. What are they actually called now, Gear Sluts? What have they changed to?
Closet.
Huh?
Storage. Closet or storage or something. Oh no, gear space. Wait. That's
yeah. Anyway, no comment, but so yeah, keep those coming. I'd love to hear from people in the audience. As I say, if people are watching the replay, definitely want to hear about what your favourite plugins. I'll get to you guys soon about your favourite plugins. We'll talk about that later. But first of all, let's listen to our first featured artist for tonight. His name is Mark Allen Skinner. He's got this piece of music called High Strung. A little bit of background about Mark. He records in a horse barn. He has to record first thing in the early mornings when the cows, chickens, and horses are actually still quiet. So it's always interesting to hear the challenges of a home studio.
Sounds like your studio ad.
Yeah. That's just my house, mate.
He uses a very old interface, a Cakewalk UA4 FX interface, sort of Cakewalk branded. I think it was a Roland interface, I seem to remember anyway. And he uses Cakewalk and very rarely uses outboard gear. Very simple setup. Uses a few free plugins. Plus he uses Melodyne, Ozone. I haven't used Room Reverb, but it's got that funny spelling, R-A-U-M. I don't know if you guys have used that, but he uses that. He uses Valhalla Supermassive, which is just awesome. I talked about that on the channel recently. And Space Modulator. Pretty minimalistic song. He's got 4 acoustic guitars in there and a bass. He forgot to mention that he's got some sort of kick drum going on in there. He forgot to mention that in the notes, but I definitely heard it. He uses a high-strung guitar. Do you guys know what a high-strung guitar is?
Tell me.
It's otherwise it's referred to as Nashville tuning. I use Nashville tuning on a lot of my music. A secondary guitar, which is Nashville tuning. So basically 4 of the strings on the guitar are tuned up an octave higher. So you usually record your regular tuning, and then I would go left and right speakers and do some Nashville tuning. But I am recording a song at the moment which is with a guitar only with Nashville tuning, so it can be used by itself. And in addition to that, he uses 2 capos and changes it to a DAD-CAD tuning. I won't go into what that is. The people in the audience who are guitar players will know. He tracked with a single 80 3035. I've never used this microphone, this Audio-Technica microphone, but I'm not going to say it sounds good. I'll let you guys decide that. Just a simple setup, just with one microphone, 12th fret, the most bog standard way to record an acoustic guitar that you'll ever hear of. In addition to that, he just mentions that he struggled with EQing the guitar and keeping the bass in a place where it didn't destroy the rest of the song, and for that reason he only used the bass in towards the end of the song, because he just couldn't seem, he said he couldn't get it right in terms of mixing. So he just went, I just won't put it in there then. So let's have a listen.
I would ask what his mixing environment is to have that problem.
It's a barn.
Is he mixing in the barn though, or is he mixing on headphones or in a
It's a good question, actually. Well, he may be in the audience. If he's here, then I'll ask Mark to answer you. Let's have a listen to this song anyway. High Strung from Mark Allen Skinner. There we go. That was Mark Allen Skinner's High Strung. So let's go over, first of all, to Marlon. What was your thoughts, Marlon? I'm going to go to you first so that you don't accuse me of always letting Ed go first. So,
Well, first of all, it's good playing for sure. No doubt for that. How many guitars are there going on to?
Four.
Four. Yeah, that's also. And I'm listening. We are listening back in mono, and sometimes for me it seems like they're colliding a bit with timing, so it gets a little bit messy in mono. I don't know how it will translate in stereo. And I was happy with the break happening towards the end of the song, because I was thinking, it needs something now to progress, and then there was a break, so that was good. I was just wondering, where's the bass? Was there a bass? You said there was a bass, but
yes, it was there towards the end, but it was not very.
Bass.
Yeah, it was pretty high played. Yeah,
okay.
That's right.
Yeah, but overall, I think it was a nice vibe, a nice tune, and I wish I could hear it in stereo to hear how it translates like that.
To people watching, follow the link in the description, and you'll be able to hear it in stereo. Yes, you're right though. There were some timing issues here and there. I listened to it in stereo today, and I did detect a couple of timing issues. Yeah, but. Yeah, you probably would have. I think if you were listening in stereo, you would have been much more aware of there being four guitars. Obviously, he's panned some of them left and right. Yep. Okay. Ed, I saw you nodding your head a bit there.
I was nodding my head because I enjoyed that. I didn't really make any notes other than, as Marlon said, in mono, it was slightly not tricky, but it was a bit cluttered with the four guitars. So one of my suggestions would be to maybe migrate one of those high-strung guitar parts to an actual acoustic, to create a bit more middle end in the mix, because without the bass, it's a bit of a kind of a high-pass shelf vibe on the overall mix, other than the kick drum.
Smiley curve.
But yeah, I mean, interesting arrangement. I didn't really, I just quite enjoyed it. Which, I mean, you know me, usually I have loads of comments to make, but I've just sat back and relaxed with that one.
So it seems like I'm going to be the evil judge here then, as it turns out. Especially as I'm the guy who picked the show. I did really enjoy it, by the way, and from a guitarist point of view, like really nice playing going there. And I actually detected some timing issues, as Marlon pointed out. I didn't actually mind them. It almost sort of added to this kind of live, loose feel to me. It wasn't bad enough that it jarred me. You know, it was just, you could, if you were going to be perfectionist, maybe you'd tidy it up, but it didn't sort of bother me. The only thing I'm going to say, which is, as Sausage says, is going to make me the bad cop, is that it was almost like it was a groove, but I yearned for a sort of a melody, something to give like a very distinct, probably a hook type of a melody somewhere in there. So to Mark, this is an artistic choice, so take it or leave it. But for me personally, I probably would have added something else in there, even if it was another guitar, but just like a lead part, because it was sort of like, yeah, it was a groove to me, and a really good groove, really good groove, and ticking along nicely.
Mark, I think what Mike's saying is he wants you to turn it into a sea shanty so he can drink to it.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and yeah, probably there was some sort of drum in there, and I also felt, and it may be a bit stereotypical, but what do they call them, Ed? The drums that like the Irish guys use, open frame drums.
Bogdan.
Yeah, Bogdans.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. They've got a pronunciation. Yeah, but that would have. Now, I wouldn't suggest get a virtual instrument and do that. I've tried. They're never quite as good. It needs someone really playing that. So, yeah, make a friend who knows how to play.
Or a violin for a melody or something, like an alt violin.
Yes, a fiddle would work in there. Yeah, but that's where I would have gone with it. But a really nice piece of music. I really enjoyed it. That's why it's on the show. So, Mark, well done.
Yeah, there were some nice melodies in there that actually would translate well to violin. Good chat, Marlon.
I think that's probably that was more evident to me than a kind of. I think that it survives without bass kind of quite well, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why Mark may have been struggling a bit. I mean, I could hear a bass in there, but he may have been struggling and he may have been thinking, I should have a bass in there, and then kind of trying to wedge it in there.
Well,
but his instinct.
You have a lot of information now in that lower guitar octave and that higher guitar octave, and nothing in the middle.
Mm-mm.
And that's a thing where any melody will shine, and maybe even a vocal.
Yeah, which again, actually, a violin would alleviate, because you'd be taking one part away from the high-strung guitar parts, so less clutter there, and then you'd be fitting a violin frequency-wise in the middle. So you'd be killing multiple birds with that. So that's an interesting orchestration.
But that can also be a acoustic guitar, right?
Yeah,
not necessarily violin, but in that frequency range, in that octave.
Yeah.
I mean, as a rule, just in terms of pop music production, and I say this as a rule because I don't think I've ever really considered it, because it's not how I think when producing songs, but I would suggest not more than any two of one instrument in a track. Maybe two acoustics, maybe two violins if you've got cello and viola, but in terms of four of the same, unless you're specifically double tracking and quad tracking stuff.
I
avoiding
I agree with you in the sense of often, I record a lot of acoustic guitar, so often there would be four there, but they're usually taking up the role of, they're doubled and things like that, so that's why there's four. Yeah, I'd for example, sometimes I would certainly do finger picking parts, and then perhaps record some strumming parts separately, potentially, or just to give a different tone. But yeah, I agree. But it's a rule that could be broken in the right circumstances with the right piece of music. Anyway, moving on from there, I would like to mention to everyone listening, if you did follow the link in the description, or just up above Marlon's head there. In fact, you could point for me, Marlon. Yes, that one there. If you did follow that, one of the things that you could take part in is they call it the Spotlight feature on Distrokid. I'll show you what I mean with it right away here. Here's the Spotlight feature. I'm using it. It's one of those things where you pick, one song or the other. Which one do you think is best here? The first one or the second one, yeah? This is a bit of fun. And what happens is that songs get voted on like this, and songs that get the most votes actually end up in a Distrokid playlist, which is quite a big playlist, which is quite a good thing to be on in terms of Spotify. So you can enter your own songs. Here's me entering one of my own songs. It didn't do very well, I have to say. But yeah, I tried. And you just select a section of the song there, and then you just click the button at the bottom, click yes to continue, and there you are. You're in that competition. It's a bit of fun and can get your music exposed to people who wouldn't otherwise find you, which is, how do you go with that sort of thing, Ed, in terms of promoting your music? Put you on the spot now, didn't I?
I mean, pass.
Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard to get. It's one thing making your music, but getting it noticed by the world out there is pretty hard work.
Yeah, pass.
Well, all I'll say is every little bit of help you can get, as Ed knows, is a good thing.
I do have a few things what you could do. And that is, well, it really also depends on which type of music you play, I have to be honest. But you need to get reviews. Online magazines, there's so many blogs out there who do reviews and beg for a track or an album to be sent, even digital. So, and if you are in writing, there will be a couple of people who will listen to it, and then you get more listeners, and hopefully someone will stay and hang, and that's how you grow your audience at a snail pace, but it grows.
Oh, yes. So anyway, moving on from there, I just want to quickly touch upon this subject, which I'm introducing a different subject tonight, and that being just a little question for those watching. What are your favourite plugins? If you haven't answered that, if you haven't let us know in the chat there. Marlon, I don't want to ask you what your favourite plugin is. I want to ask you, What's your second favourite plugin? We'll go on
favorite plugins. I have 28. Let's start. Well, if I check at the plugins I use in every mixing and mastering project, first of all, I always use FabFilter Pro Q3 and FabFilter Pro L, the limiter.
Only one. No, you can't have two. So which one's it going to be? Pro Q3 or the limiter?
That one. And so my second favorite.
But what is it? What, just going to the FabFilter thing. Ed, do you use Pro Q3?
That was in my list of top 3 plugins that I use on absolutely everything.
And it would be in mine as well, potentially number 1, in fact, for me. So what is it that makes that so good?
It's very simple for me. It's user interface. It's a digital plugin. Some people say it has a bit of a hi-fi quality to it, but I don't really notice that. But it's user interface. It's so easy to use on every frequency band. So many choices from stereo, from left side, left, right, or mid side, or just left, or just right, or just mid, or just side. It's so many options to quickly dialing the thing you want, and the dynamic EQ. I think it's
dynamic EQ is really good. Yeah.
And that just for your listeners, Mike, if you can't necessarily stretch to the FabFilter stuff because it's not cheap, Waves do a very good dynamic EQ called the F6, which is usually about, well, I won't quote a price, but it's often on sale.
29
Waves
dollars.
F6 is good.
But
and I'd also say the plugin I'm working on at the moment is going to be fierce competition for the
Oh, interesting. And talking about cheaper options or dynamic EQs, it's been mentioned a number of times in the comments here. TDR Nova, that's got some nice dynamic EQ features as well. So and there's a free version of that, but then they have the Gentleman's Edition as well, which is a paid version. It's got a few more features. But yeah, I have to agree with you, and I'm surprised we didn't see Pro Q3 in the live chat there, because it's probably would be.
It is a premium price plugin, so I get it.
It's true.
Mike, just quickly, what makes a plugin a gentleman's plugin? Does it go easy on the bottom end or something?
I'll leave it there, actually. Yes, Ed, that's exactly why. Oh, dearie me. Do you know, somebody dropped an F-bomb on the show last week for the first time. Guess who it was?
Pete Johns,
yes, exactly. Pete Johns dropped a bloody F-bomb on my show. The first time someone sworn on my channel in 3 years, and it was Pete Johns. I followed up quickly soon after, so he didn't feel embarrassed. But yeah, there you go.
What, with an apology or a fuck?
I just yesterday watched an interview about The Big Lebowski, the movie, and
is this relevant to the show, Marlon? Just can I just ask? Is this
relevant?
okay?
It had 275 F-bombs in the movie, and they had to re-record every F-bomb for the TV version. 275 F-bombs in a movie.
Wow. Interesting. What did they replace it with? Funk or something?
They got creative with everything. Yeah, they got really creative.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Let's move on to our next artist, and before this gets us into any trouble at all, which I'm sure it would do if I gave it the chance. Our next artist, I didn't do this earlier, so I can't do it now. I haven't got their name prepared. I was going to ask you guys to read it out, but it's too late for that. So our next artist is Alexa, spelled ELXAR, with a piece of music called Space Voyager. So Alexa is actually Luca and his girlfriend Alexandra. They've combined their names. How cute is that? That's so nice. What would my name be if I was combined with Susie? Moosey. Don't mind that. Works. Anyway, Alexa is Luca and his girlfriend. Space Voyager is their first original track. They use FL Studio as the main DAW and also Cakewalk as a secondary one. Too poor to afford any hardware instruments, so everything is in the box. Quote from Luca, he said, I usually just compose the full spine of the track all in one session or 1 to 2 sessions. Then I go into mixing it all together in another session, and then I go on to some arrangement, which was an odd order for me. I'm thinking he means arrangement in terms of the order of events in the song, meaning verse, chorus, that part of the arrangement. Anyway, then adds effects to the different things after that. Another quote, when I started working on this, I could not afford any gear. I just had my little MIDI Plus MIDI controller. That was it. $10 speakers from a Chinese store and some super cheap headphones. The track was actually started with that gear, with that situation, just working in the living room. And then luckily a producer friend gifted his pair of Biodynamic DT770s, so that was definitely an upgrade in terms of monitoring for his birthday. And he's also since got a couple of PreSonus Eris monitors. I haven't never used PreSonus monitors. I know they're kind of a little bit of a budget monitor. I think Pete Johns may have tried them out. Am I right? I'm not sure. He's in the audience, isn't he? Let me know, Pete. Did you try out the PreSonus monitors? Can't remember, but I do hear good things about them. So he's getting...
They were the best value for money speakers of all time.
Who said that?
Sound on Sound, I believe.
Sound on Sound, did they? Yeah. So there you go. So I haven't actually tried them, but if you're on a bit of a budget, it sounds like they are worth giving a go. So
also,
this is
sorry to interrupt. Check out the Adam TV5s. Whoa, I'm reviewing them at the moment. They are brilliant.
Oh, yes. I've got the TV8s, and I do still love them very, very much.
Can always vouch for Adam speakers. They're good.
Yeah, Adam are just really good in everything they do. I'm hoping one day to get their, what do they call, the A7Xs? They're the ones
I have a pair of older S2As in my studio. Actually built them in the soffit wall. They are now 20 years old. 15, 20 years, I don't know exactly, but still excellent. Excellent sounding speakers.
So let's have a listen to this piece of music. As I say, the first, I did think about cutting this short in the sense of it's 5 minutes long, but you know what? I think I'm going to give it a go all the way through. So sit back and have a listen. So, Ed Thorne, let's hear your thoughts first.
My initial thought was it's a good balance of instruments throughout. Levels have been mixed nicely. Everything kind of has its place, even in mono, which I think we're suffering from in this live show, particularly, aren't we? Because I've got a feeling there were lots of nice ambient sweeps moving around, and I've got a feeling they may have been in the stereo field, and we probably weren't getting those. So that's a shame. But I trust that they were there because I liked the way they were moving around. I felt the drums could have developed a bit, maybe some background percussion, panned hi-hats and cymbals and things. That's an interesting comment from Sausage. Maybe the bass could have been deeper, lower in the frequency spectrum. I mean, arrangement-wise, I can see this being in a sci-fi film. Obviously, it's it's out there. I mean, I don't have much to say about the arrangement. I kind of lacked. I mean, that there was it just felt like, I don't know. I guess as an instrumental, it's quite, because I come from a song writing point of view with vocals, so it's all about the vocals. Tell the story and lead the story. So I think from an instrumental point of view, it's tricky to keep attention when there's only really one or two melodic motifs in and out with a lot of space in between them. Now, this is not my speciality in terms of music, but I mean, I enjoyed it. It was head bopping at one point. I think all three of us were bopping away. So it's got a vibe and a groove to it that was especially the 80s, big 80s snare drum. Digging that. That was proper
gated
snare drum. Yeah, love that sound. So kudos for that. I mean, no further comments really. I quite enjoyed it, but I did find my attention wandering. That might be because I'm hungry though as well.
Could be. What say you, Marlon? His microphone's off. Did he switch his own microphone?
Yeah, I'm polite. I switch off my microphone when I talk.
Rubbish microphone.
It's actually really sweet.
It's expensive.
It is expensive.
I have one.
I know.
Ed recently reviewed this microphone. I have to go and check out his review and see what he said about it.
Yeah, I will say the opposite, I think. It's kind of nice because I know how to use it.
The claws are out. So, Marlon, let's get back to the music. Let's get back to it.
Yeah. A few things. I agree with Ed, actually, again, as usual. I dig the vibe of this song a lot. But the chord progression, right? It has one chord progression throughout the entire song. And this progression feels like it's building up to something. It's building up, but it never arrives to what it's building up to. So it feels, the song feels unresolved to me, right? It's just this one chord progression, this one atmosphere throughout the entire song. And just like Ed said, also my attention wandered off after a while. So something should happen.
Is that too, because I know the artist is here, he says he's here taking notes. If it had been 3 minutes long, 3.5 minutes long, if it just hadn't repeated that main, because it did go into 5 minutes, was it just too long?
No, it's not the actual chord progression itself. That it's fine, it's unresolved and it has an atmosphere, but it's the exact same sound throughout. Right? You can do something with that a bit
and
more,
it's the
right?
the same pulsing eighth note rhythm the whole way through.
Yeah,
I don't breakdown.
I don't mind that, because if you look at look up YouTube for my name, you will end up with a 37-minute death metal, black metal drum. It's just an A chord.
That's going to be on the show one day, Marlon. We're going to have that as a show for the whole audience to review.
But yes. I have the arrogant opinion that 37-minute A drones keeps your attention, because there are things happening happening in the backing and stuff like that, which keeps your attention. Right, it's just small changes, like different sounds, not a different arrangement because it's an A. It's really just an A. But there are many things you can do to add interest, to keep the attention for a sustained period of time. One thing I did also notice, is the keyboard stab sound. Sounds a lot like the song "I Remember" by Deadmau5 and Cascade. You should look that one up. It's also it's almost the same sound. It's like this understated, cool keyboard stab. I like that sound. It was good.
Interesting. I have to say I disagree with Ed a little bit. I get what he's saying about that the drum pattern being the same all the way through, but I think there are times when you can keep something like a core instrument like that all the way through, as long as other things are changing around it. Do you know what I mean? Because then the relationship between the two parts changes as you go through. So there are plenty of examples of songs, which I can't think of at the moment, but which have a monotonous drum pattern all the way through. Probably something by Queen, "We Will Rock You" or something like that would have been something. But you know, it's about the relationships between the different instruments. So, and as Marlon says, even something like a drone going all the way through a piece of music can actually work really, really well, as long as its relationship with other things is changing, in my opinion, anyway. To the artist who, as I say, is in the audience at the moment, Luca. I really enjoyed it. I like the sound. What sort of drew me to it right away? You had this sort of intro part, and it could so easily have had the usual drop in there, and it could have so easily gone to an 808 kind of sound with the drums. And it was just kind of refreshing not to hear that from an instrumental piece of electronic music these days. And it was very retro, very 80s sounding to me. Didn't mind that a bit, you know. It just felt there were areas of it where you definitely were not too predictable. It was nice. The overall sort of texture of it was really, really nice to me. But I do agree with the guys. As you move forward with what you do, it may be an idea to think about variation in terms of what's happening with chords and things throughout a piece. But we are three guys who don't really write or listen to that kind of music, so you can a little bit take if the purpose of this was for perhaps as a film score or perhaps for a video game, then maybe there's other reasons to leave it just the way it is. But anyway, I hope that's helpful to you. And thanks so much for submitting. It's always just great to hear these different types of music. And we were speaking earlier, weren't we, about Ed's failure in terms of getting his music promoted well, even though there's tools at his disposal. Look at it. The faces just stayed like that. It's like, oh my God.
I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah. But I don't know whether Ed realised one of the things that's quite useful about Distrokid is that you can kind of track where your plays are coming from and what platforms they're working well on, and you get that through their statistics features. You could see mine here, which is just appalling. We should just go through them quickly because you wouldn't want to use this as an example. I don't really promote my music at all, to be honest with you, but it is really cool that you do get a sense of how people are finding your music, what platforms are working, which people are listening to your music, where they're from, all of that kind of good stuff. And it's just one of the examples of just the depth of what you get. It's not like when you release music with Distrokid that it's just out there and that's it. There's all of these kinds of features that are there to at least help you in terms of understanding your music out there in the world and how it's being received by people, how they're finding it, and how you can promote it, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's our sponsor, Distrokid. So you guys, was it a FabFilter? Was that your number one pick? The Pro Q3, Ed? Was that your favourite plugin ever?
I wouldn't say it's my favourite, but it's definitely one that gets used on every mix. I mean, my favourite plugin is obviously Auto-Tune.
Come on.
Of which
Your
I do
singing's
use. I
not
do
that
use a
bad.
Universal Audio Antares Auto Tune Real Time Advanced, which is it's
Do
very
you
good.
actually use that? Do you?
Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
I
you
don't.
use it well because I
don't
can't hear it in
record.
your music.
Oh right. Well, actually, the stuff I've released, that's all been melodined.
Oh, yeah.
And the backing vocals have been flex pitched on Logic. There's various reasons I do one melodyne for lead and flex pitch for Logic, but for backing vocals, I mean. But just in terms of if I'm demoing stuff and I can't stand to listen back to my awful yodeling, I will use the UAD Antares thing. The UAD Manly Vox box, for anyone who knows the Universal Audio system, you can physically reconfigure the impedance and gain staging of the preamps to act like analog preamps. And they have the Manly Vox box, which is an incredibly expensive. I think it's £6,000 or don't know what that is in dollars. It's a lot of money to get the original hardware unit. So they do a plug-in Unison plug-in version, which sounds really good. I think sounds very warm, smooth, and musical. So I actually go between that and my actual analog warm audio preamp because it's got a little compressor built in, so it's just a slightly easier signal chain than faffing around with outboard gear. Do you want another plugin I would use? Make it 3.
Go on then. Go 3. Go 3. Go on.
The BX Townhouse bus compressor. Goes every mix bus. That's just sublime.
For drums?
For everything. It's good on drum. It's just good on as any bus compressor, like any instrument bus, but particularly on the master bus, it really does glue your mix together. I know it becomes a bit of a cliche to say, "Oh, what's gluing your mix together?" But it really does. And there's a setting called Master Glue, which is great.
How about you, Marlon? What other ones do you find you get inspired by?
Well, yeah, like I said, the FEV Filter Pro L, the limiter, is on every mix. Tried out some other limiters, but I always grab Pro L because also it's versatile and simply works. It has a built-in metering, it's just good. It's just handy and works quickly, gets results fast. What I want, and it has a true peak limiting, which is very handy if you have to work in broadcast and stuff like that. I also use Fokchengo MSED a lot, the free plugin.
Say that again.
Fokchengo MSED. It's a free mid-side plugin. It's a really simple plugin. You can change the mids. You can
Yes,
balance and sides balance, mute them. But it's so handy, especially if I have to do mastering and someone sends a track which is way too wide because wide is better. So I can just dial in the sides a bit and I'm done. It's really easy. It has a built-in mid-side encoder and decoder. So when I use it in conjunction with my external hardware in Cubase, I put one of the MSEDs in front. I let it decode. I let it encode mid-side. And it goes to, for instance, a warm audio, my stereo warm audio preamp. Use one channel for mid, one channel for the sides. Bring it back into Cubase, and then decode it again to get a true stereo signal inside Cubase. It's really handy. Another plugin which I really liked and started using a lot is actually the Acoustica Silver reverbs. They are excellent convolution reverbs. And I have done something with it to make it actually not simply convolution you drop on something, but you can adjust the early reflection, late reflection, stuff like that to make it really musical and really natural sounding. It's splendid. And the last one I use a lot is the good old Native Instruments Massive.
Yes.
It's also one it gets dated by now. You have Massive X now, but I still grab Massive for quick and simple synthesizer things and drums even to add low sinus waves and stuff like that. So, Native Instruments Massive. It's really good.
Currently a part of the the 2 collections they've got at the moment on Plugin Boutique. Just a little shout out there because I made a video about this recently. But because now that Plugin Boutique is selling some native instrument stuff, they did 2 collections: a classic collection and a future classics collection. And I do seem to remember that Massive X was in the classics collection, as far as I remember.
Yeah, this is the follow up, right?
Just want to quickly mention, because Ed was saying earlier about a little bit, he was touching upon using a virtual sort of compressor as opposed to the physical one, and he was talking about some of that, and it just reminded me that I just want to do a shout out to Mr. Paul Third, who is in the chat at the moment. Paul's he had a couple of things to say. I've been following along a little bit there, Paul, but folks, just follow or let Paul let you know about his channel, because he does some great comparisons between plugins and hardware. Hardware. What am I going to say? Just hardware. He does some great comparisons between the two. Looks at it in a way more technical way than I will ever understand. But really interesting videos. He does some great sort of experiments, if you like, comparing the two. And I don't believe he's biased in one way or the other from watching his videos. He just likes to get to the truth of the matter.
Very honest. He's very honest in his videos as well.
He is very, very honest, and he has a really, I won't go into it, but he has a very clever way of doing it and getting his hands on this hardware. That and it's worth just watching his video to find out about his videos about finding out some of the services that he used to make use of some sort of classic hardware. So definitely worth checking out his channel. We are going to move on to our final song, something completely different, because this is something we can truly call a song. It's got vocals and lyrics and things like that, which we haven't had so far tonight. So this is from someone called Glenn Robertson. It's a song called Breaking Down. He describes himself as an old rocker from Ontario, Canada. This is so typical of a lot of people into home recording at the moment, and a lot of people in my channel, because his backstory is that he was in a band in the 80s and 90s, and life and family came along and slowly pushed him out of the music industry. So, and this is almost such a stereotypical story, because during lockdown, he decided to get back into recording again. So this is just, I'm sure you guys have come across many people like this on your own channels, and I'm very happy that they've done such a thing and sort of rediscovered making music again, and had a few lifestyle changes, lost 30 pounds, reversed type 2 diabetes diagnosis, and started recording again at home. So he was stuck at home, bought some of the gear that he needed. Started, just a little backstory, started off by purchasing Pro Tools, bit of a mistake there to begin with, and then moved to Logic from there. That's an expensive mistake to make, but moved to Logic, and I know that Ed uses Logic. I'm a big fan of Logic, actually. When I had a Mac, I used to use Logic, and it's a really great tool. Now he's using a Focusrite Scarlett. I think I can't remember the I think it's the 4. What is it called? The 4i4 or something, what have you? I forget now. He just plays bass and guitar and a little bit of keyboards, and he uses. I think there's going to be some comments on this. He uses drum loops from Logic. Now this song just started off when he was actually trying to learn a chord that he'd seen Brian May from Queen play, and he inadvertently put his fingers on the wrong strings. This has happened to me so many times. I've played the wrong chord and I've gone, oh, hang on a second. It's happy accidents. Started strumming, and then the melody came along. And just a quick note, that he had someone else play lead guitar on this, and he's someone who is known to me because, and you guys may have seen him about the tracks, because his name is Oren Fisher, who is a moderator in Home Recording Studio Zone. You would have seen him in there. That's the Facebook group, which our good friend Ricky is the founder of. So shout out to Oren there as well, who's playing lead guitar on this. So let's go ahead and listen to this. As I say, it's called Breaking Down from Glenn Robertson. Thanks, Glenn, for that. So let's go to Marlon first of all. You can unmute yourself now, Marlon. Do the right thing. Go on, do it. We want to hear you.
Yeah, I got a cat and a dog who started to bark at my cat. So I had to
bring
mute
them on.
myself.
Bring them on the show.
Yeah, well, I cannot carry my dog because it's a big fat dog. It weighs 500 kilos. So that's and the cat, no.
People always look like their pets, don't they? And I can totally believe that your big fat dog looks exactly like you. Anyway, carry on. Marlon, what did you think about the music?
Does he have a comeback?
I know I do not have a comeback, but I hate it when people tell the truth. I cannot handle that. I will find a comeback.
You'll
after
find
the
it. I know you will.
tomorrow,
And I'll totally deserve it.
I would have said this to you. Okay, the song. First of all, great songwriting. I really liked the progression, all parts of the song. Really nice. As already mentioned in the comments, John Lennon vibe. I got Beatle vibes from it at the start with the harmonies. And even a David Bowie type of intro. Reminded me of Bowie. So no complaints there. There's a lot to say about the mix. Not going into that too deep, but snare louder. The vocal could use compression and maybe lower the bass. That's my mix.
Let's just talk about the vocal for a second. What you're saying there about the vocal could use compression. So what made you say that?
Because it's too dynamic in short parts. Right? It needs to be more even throughout, volume-wise, not with intention, but with volume. So it sits a bit better in the mix. Because now some words jump out and some are a bit on the soft side, but makes it sound purely the lead vocal, a bit uneven. That's the right word. So we use a bit of compression, slow attack, quick release, not overly done, but to just to make it a bit more even throughout the entire track.
Okay, interesting. Anything else?
No. because I know Ed is going to say the things I want to say now. He needs something to say, otherwise he's just.
Ed's the only one who comes on the show who actually takes notes, which I think is cute. But Ed, what do your notes say?
I'm actually going to disagree with Marlon on something there.
What?
I think Marlon said the bass was too loud in the mix. Now, I thought the bass was the best bit. I thought it was the best played instrument. Now, this brings an interesting point. Maybe this track's been mixed with instrument confidence in mind. For example, pushing the instrument that Glenn's been most comfortable performing to the front. It was also a good bass tone, I thought.
Really good.
Some of the other instruments, the acoustic guitar, when it stood out at the end, I was like, oh, that sounds good. But there's a lot of other instruments in the mix that sound like they've either been recorded at a distance or in a swimming pool, or they have some kind of reverb on them with quite a long pre-delay, which is making them sound distant. And I noticed it on a few of the sources. So again, I haven't seen the session, so I don't know what it is, but I would possibly consider how they sound. Again, things coming out in mono probably isn't helping that, but I would say there's still a problem in that department. Immediately what stood out is the hi-hat sounds. It sounds like it's been programmed more than using a Logic drummer loop, because the Logic drummer loops are actually programmed to be humanized. So there are some fluctuations, whereas this was with the hi-hat, which is not how drummers play. So I would suggest, if you are programming hi-hats, like to the point where it almost sounded like a shaker or a castanet going, maybe accent the quarter notes and ease off the eighth note, so you've got a nice lilt, which is using like a molar technique like that, which any drummer will tell you is how they actually play. Some of the guitar parts are very Noel Gallagher-esque. Anyone who's watched me on this show before, big fan.
You can't come on a show without mentioning them, can you?
No, but I just really relate to
bit of an Oasis,
90s Britpop sound, and there were some really nice melodies going on there. Again, though, this is a guitarist thing which we've had on this channel, on this show before, where guitarists are guilty of putting their guitar licks all the way through the song, even on the quiet bit of vocals or like a vocal breakdown. There'll be some noodling at the back. It's like, guys, you've got to put your producer hat on. What's the most important part of the section? It's probably not your guitar lick if there's a vocal line going on. And yeah, I do agree with Marlon in terms of the vocal. I wondered if some of those words had even been automated to come out, or then if is it a bit of mic technique? Is he moving along the microphone and doing, is it literally a proximity to the microphone technique thing? So yeah, compression would help smooth that out. But there's a plugin from Waves called Vocal Rider, which is quite useful for stuff like that, where you can it literally, as if you were riding a fader, it can lower, you set your parameters and it can lower and boost the vocals. Now that combined with before a compressor can work really well for evening out the vocals. But stylistically, again, you don't necessarily want a perfectly flat, even vocal response all the way through. That can be boring and monotonous and not very musical. But yeah, somewhere in between the two.
It depends, because your dynamic vocals in terms of not being monotonous is one thing, but I think Marlon's trying to say that there's even like odd words which are poking up here and there, which are just out of character for that little section.
Yeah, which made me question whether they had purposefully been automated because they were quite a bit louder, or if it's just he's playing his guitar at the same time and he's looking at his fingers, so he's looking that way, and then all of a sudden he's coming in for a main,
possibly
main word of the sentence. Do you know what I mean? That could literally
could happen. Could happen. If that, I usually if I find myself in that situation, I've found myself doing that, then I do actually then just look at the guitar the whole time and position the microphone around so that it's actually pointing directly at you. Is one thing you can do to help that. I actually I haven't actually used Vocal Rider, although many people have told me I should do. But one thing that I do is I usually split my vocals up into phrases and do clip gain as my first bit of preparation for any vocal track. And then if you'll often see then if there's little words and things poking up above them, or if you hear that, I sometimes do it there manually. It can be tedious, and so sometimes if something's going to be too tedious, then use a plugin for sure. But if it's just like, you can spot 5 or 6 times throughout a song where, just that word here. I personally prefer to do it manually and to take manual control over it. But yeah.
I have an issue with Vocal Rider and clip gains. I use Vocal Rider too when the vocal is well done. When the vocal is not well done, like very much dynamic change, the issue is with clip gain is that you will boost the very soft parts and it will sound really unnatural. Because you will boost a lot of what you don't want to boost. It says it has to do with tonality, it has to do with performance. So you have to be very careful how much you use clip gain and things like Vocal Rider, because you can easily overdo it. If you then use compression after it, you will hear all sort of artifacts.
Definitely, yeah, I agree with you. So I use them both. So in other words, the way I think of it is I'm doing the clip gain so that the compressor's not doing all of the work, if you know what I mean. So I'm just almost preparing it for the compressor to have to work in a more natural way than to have to work really hard. But you're right. I
prefer that. So like I say, I use Vocal Rider as well, but you can also use multiple compressors after each other, which each do a little bit less. And don't rule out limiters. Don't rule out limiters. If you set up your compressors in a way that it will even out the vocal, but it leaves through some transients, some hard spikes in vocals, you can usually use a limiter to cap those off, and you're pretty much set. It will sound more natural than using a compressor with fast attack or something.
I was going to say multiple layers of compression. I've used Vocal Rider, and it's a great tool. I'd prefer to go down double compression route, so I'll go slow LA2A style compressor first, and then a quicker 76 style compression. And usually, and certainly on all the songs I've put out I'd say I'm automating maybe 4 or 5 times, like a little bit, 4 or 5 times in the entire track, and the rest of it's just double compression and conscious mic technique.
I did notice that, and whether I don't know whether the video clip, Glenn, you're there, so you'll be able to tell me. I don't know whether the video clip is true to the recording, but I noticed that Glenn was singing into an SM57, and to sing into an SM57, which personally would not be a choice of vocal mic for me ever, but they're good microphones to have around the studio. But you would have to get right on top of it to get a sort of a certain tone, and with that proximity effect, even moving ever so slightly to either side would get a very sudden change in volume again. So there may be choice of microphone and not mic technique. I'm not suggesting, Glenn, that you've got the video was fake, okay, so that it wasn't an SM57, so that just discounts everything I just said there. So there you go.
What did you record with though, Glenn? Let's know.
Yeah, what was the microphone that you used then, Glenn? If you could let us know in the chat there. I just wanted to throw my own 2 cents worth in terms of the whole thing. First of all, Glenn, this was songwriting. It was really good songwriting. I felt it was a story, a journey. It was really pleasure to listen to in that way. So, hats off to you in terms of not everybody can do this. This is not an easy craft, and you've obviously got a bit of natural ability, I would suggest, there for songwriting. So that was really good. I didn't mention it to you guys, but Glenn said to me that after he accidentally played the wrong chord, when he was watching the Brian May thing, he thought that he was going in a Radiohead direction. So, Glenn, I'm a big fan of Radiohead. I didn't hear that at all. So it's just really interesting, the perspective. Well, I can't say I didn't hear it at all, but much stronger for me was a more retro feel. As people had said, certain phase of the Beatles and John Lennon was definitely in there. Nobody mentioned it, but I almost heard a bit of a 10cc thing going on here and there with it as well, and also, like the great Ed Thorne, I had in my notes here that I thought the best instrument in the whole thing was the bass guitar. And it was just, I go on about this a lot, but it was so simple, the bass guitar. There was like a droning note going on for a lot of it. But I say this again and again, sometimes the most simple parts can be so effective in music. And I do agree that maybe it was a little bit too loud in the mix, a little bit. But it was such a key part of the song. It sort of really drove it along, actually, the bass guitar. It sort of...
I felt like the groove was in the bass guitar because it wasn't...
Absolutely, yeah.
Militant hi-hats.
I did notice the hi-hats that Ed was... To be honest with you, I noticed the hi-hat mostly right at the beginning of the song, and then I sort of got used to it after a while. But it was in my notes to say to Glenn, if you ever got the chance to re-record this song with a real drummer, it would go into a whole new... what's the word? Whatever, cosmos. It'd just be a whole new level, and it would deserve it, this song. If you get the opportunity, Glenn, if you get to know someone, or if you contacted Ed, he may even record a drum part for you. I don't know. There's a rumor that he offers services like that sometimes. But or just you may just reconsider the drum part again in sense of what Ed was talking about, especially in terms of the hi-hat. So I think that was just but really, really good stuff. And also just a shout out to Oren Fisher, who was playing the guitar. I love the guitar tone. It was a very subdued tone to the guitar, almost a dry tone. Again, this is a bit of my preference, even though I was only a very small child in the 70s. I know that's hard to believe, but I do have I am a bit of a fan of, I was really grew up in the 80s, but I'm a bit of a fan of some of those 70s type tones that they would have on those types of guitar parts, and I just really enjoyed that personally. Yeah, Ed, did you have something else to add there? I thought you were...
I was going to chime in with some joke about if we knew anyone with a remote recording studio for drums, but he beat me to it. So
by the way, talking about Ed Thorne there. Have you noticed, Marlon, that whilst me and you have the same headphones, me and Ed have the same sweater on? He's developed some boobs. Yes, just a little shout out there for Ed, because this is Ed's very own logo here. See, Ed, I'm supporting your channel.
Thanks, Mike. It's only because you haven't sent me a hoodie yet with your branding on.
But yeah,
I just wanted to make a remark with Ed doing drums for money. I know from a reliable source, if you pay Ed any money, he will do any sort of services. Doesn't matter.
I mean,
have you got an OnlyFans page yet, Ed?
What are we? Not since they banned nudity. No, I'd have to take all my photos down.
No, they reverted it because there was the entire model profit. So
I'm
too busy working on my other YouTube channel, Thorne Hub.
I am supposed to be doing. I'm supposed to be doing a review soon on a C12 clone, AKG C12. Was it AKG? But also, who else did the C12 microphone? Telefunken, I think, also did. But anyway, I'm doing a review of a clone by a company called Nude Microphones. And I don't know why Marlon's back. And I was thinking of an idea for a thumbnail, and I was saying to Susie, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this big microphone, and I'm going to be peering out from behind it, obviously completely naked. She said, no.
What about a long microphone and your head just sitting on the top like this?
It's going to do a Jeff Bezos rocket imitation or something.
I like that, Ed. I like it a lot. I think I may go down. If you see this thumbnail in the future, folks, it's Ed Thorne's idea.
Probably the best thumbnail idea I've had. All mine are shocking. Now.
No negativity here. So anyway, yeah. So well done, as I say, to all of our artists tonight. Enjoyed the music, and it's great if you're able to take constructive criticism on the chin.
Destructive criticism.
Did I say destructive criticism?
It sounded like destructive criticism. Like, ooh.
Yeah, no. If people give you destructive criticism, then leave. But constructive criticism is something that all of us need to learn to take as musicians, as producers, as writers. You can't be all about your mum saying how great you are all the time. You do need to sometimes hear some things that are going to help you develop. So I hope that you've found those things useful, folks. And I want to thank my wonderful, wonderful guests for being on the show with me. I've got to say, as I alluded to at the beginning, such a breath of fresh air from the usual quality of guests that I have on the show. Really, I mean, appalling quality at times in terms of what their insights into music are almost non-existent. To be honest with you, I really have to review the whole situation. But for you guys, you really have those insights worth listening to. So it's been a pleasure to have you on. Look at this. So, folks, thank you so much for joining us in the live chat. It's been lovely to have you here. And if you are watching on the replay, don't forget to leave your comments about the music you're listening to and about the quality of the guests. Let me know what you think, how they performed today. They'll take some constructive criticism as well.
Unsubscribe if you didn't like us.
Unsubscribe if you didn't like us, or subscribe to my channel. No.
Dear me.
Oh, Mike, congrats on 90,000 subscribers. That's a huge milestone.
When I didn't make a song or dance about it, I've mentioned it, but now that you've brought it up, yes, it did. 90,000. It's sort of a bit strange because I didn't expect for that to sort of happen with Creative Source when I started out.
Just happened overnight.
No, in the sense of it started off as a bit of fun, and it's continued to be a bit of fun, except I do it all the time now, which I wasn't doing at the beginning. But yeah, so thank you for people who subscribe to me, and thanks, Ed, for raising the subject. Yes, but it's one of those funny things, isn't it? It's one of those numbers, 9, for example, just makes you think about being 10.
Imagine how big that crowd is if you put them in a stadium. Well, not now, but 19,000 people.
Social distancing, of course.
That's a lot of people. I want to know who's going to get to 100,000, you or Pete.
Pete's going to get there before me. I have requested that perhaps he could slow down so that we can climax at the same time. Because can you imagine that? Can you imagine that? Woo! It'd just
Did
be.
you just hear what you said?
But no, Pete's going to make it before me, but he deserves to make it. But he's such a hard-working guy. He's done so well with his channel. It's been a pleasure. Me and him have sort of shared the journey together. When I first knew Pete, I had 300 subscribers when I first reached out to him, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And he had 6,000 at the time. So I've only closed during the course of us on our road to 100. I've only closed the gap a tiny amount. He's always been a little bit ahead of me, and he deserves it because the thing about Pete is he's just so authentic, and it's one of the key things about being a YouTuber. It's something I could learn because I'm obviously quite fake, as me and Marlon were discussing before, but I try and be authentic when I can. I do actually find myself walking around in everyday life now, just going. I point at things like that.
There was you two guys are now celebrities. Did you know that? It was an article that said if you have more than 10,000 followers on any social media, you should be seen as a celebrity.
Yeah, not true. There was one guy that I sold something online to once. I'll tell you this little story. It was on Facebook Marketplace, and I was selling some guitar parts, which I was no longer using. And when he was about to come to my house, he messaged me and he said, "Hey, you look just like my favourite YouTuber." And I said, "Oh, yeah, who's that?" He said, "Oh, a channel called Creative Source." And I said, "That's actually me." And he came and bought the stuff off me, which turned out that didn't fit on his guitar. When he got home, he'd bought the wrong fittings. But he said he was just so pleased that he'd bought something from me. How nice is that? Oh, dear me. So, yes, I sold parts to people that don't fit. That's my claim to fame. But anyway, yeah, nice to have you guys on here, and look forward to having you back again. I'm here every Thursday, folks, always with wonderful guests with great insights. Keep those songs coming. If you haven't submitted your song yet, then follow the link in the description down below, and try. This will be a great opportunity for you to get some feedback on your music. Gentlemen, I'm going to leave the last word to... Oh, nobody wants it. I'm going to leave the last word to Marlon. Marlon, what would you like to say to the folks at home?